Hi, my name is Jordan Fitch, and for my investment presentation, I was given $100,000 to hypothetically spend in the stock market. So for me, the stock market has never been something that I'm familiar with at all. I've never invested personally. I've never been curious about it, asked questions about it. It's just been something that I don't have a lot of knowledge about. So when I started this project, I wanted to know where beginners would start. So I asked around with family and friends that I know that invest and I know are into the market, and they led me to use the Apple Stock Market app. They said it was very simple and easy for beginners to get a lot of information quickly. So I'll show an example. It's very convenient too because it's on my phone and it's on my laptop. When you open the app, it gives you a bunch of different stocks right off the bat, and when you click them, you can see their progress. You can see how they're doing today. You can look at a year, a month, 3 months, all the way up to 10 years or all of the progress of how this stock has been and how the market has been. I find this really helpful. I found this really helpful for myself because I thought I was going to be searching the Apple stock and last week how was it and 3 months ago how was it. So I was really happy to just be able to click of a button and get a lot of information. So I used this app on May 24th, 2022. A lot was down. There was a lot of red all over the app. So I really had to go in and look at the weeks and months in advance. I got to use those features, which was really cool. On May 24th, I made my investment. I decided to split my $100,000 50-50 into T-Mobile and Verizon. Like I said, everything was really down at that time, but when I did the research and looked at the weeks prior to these two stocks, they seemed the most reliable. They seemed that they were doing good, just having a bad day, a bad week, and I decided that that would be the best place to invest $50,000 in each. I also only chose two because, like I said, I'm very beginner with the stock market, and I don't want to be too spread out with my investments that I don't even know what's going on. I wanted to understand what I was doing, so that's why I made my choice of $50,000 into each T-Mobile and Verizon. So I had some goals before going into this project of what I wanted to learn. My first goal was to dip my feet into understanding the stock market and investing. Like I said, I'm very beginner with the stock market, so I wanted to get basic knowledge about what was going on, basic knowledge on what to choose, how investing works, how pulling out my money works, what profit means, different things like that. I just wanted basic knowledge. I didn't want to become an expert. I didn't expect myself to become an expert at the end of this. I didn't want to make the most profit possible. I just wanted to understand, get more knowledge. My second goal was to stick to my initial gut feeling and ride it out. And by this I mean I kept my money, and you'll see throughout my weekly updates, I kept it in T-Mobile and Verizon the whole time. I didn't move. I didn't make trades. I just wanted to see how the market worked in those two stocks and ride that out, learn from those two. My third goal was to learn about what liquidating my assets meant and seeing the process of pulling out my investment. I wanted to see how it worked when I was ready to make profit, what it meant if I pulled it out when it was red, what it meant if I pulled it out it was green. I wanted to learn what that meant. And my fourth goal was to get a better knowledge of the stock market for future and real investments. At the end of the day, I don't want to keep hypothetically investing in the stock market. I would love to learn enough to really invest and make good decisions that way. So that was my fourth goal for this project. So going through my weekly investments, the first time I checked up on my stocks was on June 6, 2022. Both my stocks were up that day. T-Mobile was up 0.26 and Verizon was up 0.18. So they were looking pretty good. And when I looked at the week prior, because on the Apple app you can do that, I really love this app, T-Mobile had a good week and it was up most of the week, and Verizon didn't have the best week. It did have a dip, but at the end of the day, I decided to keep my money where it was. Like I said, that was one of my goals, to stick it out and see how the market fared. And also, I didn't feel a need to pull them out. There wasn't a need. That wasn't my goal, to pull them out, make the most profit, make trades, things like that. That wasn't my goal. I just wanted to see how the market worked. So at the end of the day, I kept $50,000 in each T-Mobile and Verizon. My second update was made on June 13th, 2022, and it was a pretty sad update. Both my stocks were down. T-Mobile was down a significant amount at 2.59, and Verizon was down 0.69. they didn't have good weeks either. Both had down weeks. So at this point, I learned that if I did want to make a trade and I did want to pull out my money, move it around, I would end up losing money, and that wouldn't be good. It would hurt my profit in the long run. So, and like I said, I do just want to see how the market works in specific stocks. I didn't really want to be spread out and making the most profit. So I did end up keeping my money where it was. And I even wrote here in hopes that next time I check up, that it is green and positive, so I don't lose money, because the next week was my last week. So for my final investment update, it was positive. Verizon was up 0.19 and T-Mobile was also up a significant amount at 3.31, which is really good for me because on June 20th, this is the last time I checked, if I were to pull out my investments, my profit from Verizon would be $9,500 and my profit from T-Mobile would be $165,500. So those I consider successes because one, they're both profit. I didn't lose money. That was scary. Last week, I thought maybe I'd be losing money. So I'm glad that I made money. And for T-Mobile, I consider that a big success because I made a lot more than I put in. And this part was also fun for me because I didn't even know how I was going to calculate how much profit I made. But I learned that the positive number for Verizon example, the 0.19, I multiply that by my initial investment, which is $50,000, and that's how I find out how much profit I made. So I learned and accomplished my goal of learning about pulling out my investment and liquidating my assets. I thought that was pretty cool. So my failure, I would say, throughout this process, and I kind of learned that in week 2, I started seeing where I messed up, is I did not diversify where I put my money. I put my money in T-Mobile and Verizon, and like I said, that was a goal in the beginning, but at the same time, I'm seeing how if this were real money, that could end up being a failure for me, because both my money, all my eggs were in 2 baskets, and that's not enough baskets. I think that if I diversify, spread my money out, I would definitely have a way better chance of making more profit. I also learned, something that I learned, I don't know if that's a failure or a win, is that the stock market is very time consuming. This took a lot of time and research and effort, and I only invested in 2 things to make sure I was making, I wasn't even trying to make the biggest profit. And it still took a lot of time and like researching, energy, different things like that. So for me, I learned that if I really want to do this with real money, I need to spend even more time researching the market and trends, and I need to really know what I'm doing before I get into it. Besides learning that the stock market is very time consuming, I found throughout this project a newfound curiosity for the stock market, and I think it's because it personally, doing this project in a very hands-on way where I feel like I'm actually investing, has shattered some of the fears that I have about the stock market. It's like a character flaw, but when I'm scared or think that something's not for me, I just let the other people do it, don't really research it, get no knowledge on it. And I like that this project forced me to get out my comfort zone, because I learned that the stock market is something that I can do. It's not just for people with a lot of money. It's not just for people who are super smart and know about investing. Like literally the Apple app on my phone that I showed and talked about a bunch of times, it was a really easy way to just learn about the stock market as an average person with an iPhone, with no really economics knowledge. With this newfound curiosity, I definitely asked a lot more questions to my friends and family that I know are into the stock market. I talked to my dad a lot because he has talked about his investments and I wanted to know more about his. And he has a 401k and he has it invested into a bunch of different stocks that he describes as some are invested in risky stocks, which he knows jump up and down, and some are invested in what he calls safe stocks, which pretty much stay the same, are pretty predictable investments. And we talked about his 401k a lot and how he makes more than what he puts in, and it really helps him out that way. And I really learned that it's not for just people with a bunch of money, and that I could put in a little and get more out of it. Like with the $50,000, which I don't have $50,000 to invest. Like that was a very generous hypothetical, but I made triple the $50,000. So if I put in $2,000, I could make triple the $2,000. Things like that I learned, and I really like that. I found it interesting. Definitely something to research more, look into more when I have the chance to, so I can invest. So, thank you.